Good afternoon. This is Eitan Shalom at the Body Mind Wellness Center in San Diego. And today I would like to talk to you about a very important acupuncture point. Although the word point is not actually an accurate translation of the term that we really use for the places where we place acupuncture needles, because a point suggests a spot on a line, but the acupuncture channels, which Europeans used to call meridians, which is where point comes from. A meridian is a line on a map with a point. But actually, the metaphor for the flow of qi through these so-called meridians is agricultural, and what the Westerners who first went to China called meridians, the Chinese would call channels or jinglo. So channels is a better translation, because a channel is something that something flows through, like an agricultural channel, like a canal. And what flows through those channels is qi. I'm not going to get into a large discussion about what qi is right now. I will in another video. I very much would like to, and I talk about it a lot with my patients. But in essence, qi is the difference between this physical body that's talking to you right now, and if, God forbid, I drop dead right now, once there's brain death, heart stops moving. What is death? The absence of movement. Heart stops, brain death, heart, okay? And so the difference between this physical material, once there's a lack of movement, that difference is the absence or presence of qi. Now, it's true, there is stored qi in a dead body. That's what happens when we eat flesh, to be perfectly honest. We're accessing the qi that's stored. And that's yin qi that's stored. It's not active. But to be alive is to be full of yang qi. And yang qi is the qi of movement. And what the difference between a living body and a dead body is, a living body, in a living body, there is movement of all kinds. There's movement in the brain right now, synapses, neurotransmitters. There's movement in the heart beating, blood flowing through the whole body, messages going through the nervous system, food passing through the gut. So being alive involves all kinds of movement, not just walking, but movement internally. It involves transformation of things, specifically food into energy, air into energy, the restoration of energy through sleep as well. So one characteristic of qi is that it involves movement. Another characteristic is that it's warm. When we're alive, we're warm. When we're dead, our bodies go cold. That's why when you watch a detective movie, the pathologist at the scene of the crime can estimate the time of death. Typically, it's a murder. Estimate that, because it's a detective show, the time of death by the temperature of the body. So qi is what animates us. If you want to translate it as life force, you could, but that's inadequate. It's insufficient. It is life force. It's what makes you alive. But then also qi has characteristics. Qi is warm. Qi is mobile. And, key point, qi is very light. It's very light. You can't see what happens between the axon and dendrite in the nerves. I mean, perhaps you can with a microscope, but right now, as I'm talking to you and as you're listening, there's all kinds of biochemical things happening. And forget biochemical, there's all kinds of things happening at the subatomic level. And the closer we get to pure energy, the lighter things are. This thing that holds CDs, or this cup, is very dense, and it's not going anywhere. And in fact, it's rather inanimate. This cup, if I throw it in the ground, 1,000 years later, archaeologists might dig up that cup in fairly decent shape. Whereas you think of all of the rays that pass through the cosmos, neutrinos, gamma rays, all of that stuff, or even just light itself, these things which are full of energy, which are moving at an incredibly rapid pace and all of that stuff, they're so etheric, so light, that actually, I remember reading years ago in the newspaper, Japanese scientists had trapped a single neutrino, finally, after waiting for years. Where? In a lead mine, in a scientific lab deep in the bowels of the earth, in a lead mine. So in order, and this is interesting because this is yin and yang, in order to capture this super young particle that is so interesting, like, right now you and I are being bombarded by neutrinos that are passing through our bodies, but you can't catch one. Interesting. So that's what chi is. Now, biological chi, there is chi passing through the channels of the body, and there are 12 main channels that correlate to the internal organs of the body. So there's a heart channel, there's a lung channel, there's a liver channel, there's a spleen channel, there's a stomach channel, etc., etc. And each channel has some general characteristics, each channel has some general characteristics that correlate to the internal organ that they home to, that they connect to. So, for example, the heart channel, which begins inside the armpit and comes up the inside of the arm here, that has characteristics that are related to the fact that the points, let me go back to that in a second. The points on that channel, caves, a more correct, there's no good translation, so we use points. But the character for an acupuncture point, the Chinese character has the image of a cave in it, because the points are areas where stuff collects. They're like depressions in the road where when it rains the water collects. Except what collects there is chi. And actually the acupuncture points are areas where the energy of the channel is open to the surface of the body, which is why we can influence that point with a needle, with a finger, or in the case of moxibustion, with heat. So I interrupt myself. So the so-called points on the body are areas on the acupuncture channel where we can influence the channel. And the channel has general characteristics that are related to the internal organ that the channel homes to or actually originates in. So the heart channel, it doesn't matter whether they originate in it, but each channel has an internal channel that connects it to the internal organ. So you'll find that points that influence what we call the liver chi tend to be on the liver channel or its paired channel, the gallbladder channel. Points that tend to influence the function of the heart tend to be on either the heart channel or its paired channel, the pericardium channel. Now, let's talk about the pericardium channel, because I'm here today to talk about the acupuncture point Nei Guan, or inner gate is how you would translate that. Nei means inner, Guan means gate. So there's a heart channel and there's a pericardium channel. We don't think of the pericardium in Western anatomy as a very significant internal organ in the way that we would think of, for example, in the case of the liver. The liver is a solid organ. It's not hollow. Each solid organ, like the liver or the spleen, or the heart, which you could argue, the heart's not as solid, but that doesn't matter. It's conceptualized as a solid organ. So the liver organ each solid organ or zang organ has a fu organ, a hollow organ. So paired with the liver is the gallbladder, paired with the spleen is the stomach. and paired with the heart is the pericardium. Now, what the Chinese conceptualize as the pericardium is an organ, or it mostly comes into play in terms of the channel, the organ that protects the heart. And this is a very interesting way that the Chinese think about it. So let's talk about this for a second. Why does the heart need protection? Well, let's think of it in terms of pure biological anatomy. You can live without a stomach. You can live with half a liver. You can live without a gallbladder. You can actually live without a small intestine. I don't know about the small intestine. You can live without portions of your small intestine. You can live without portions of your large intestine. You can live without your ovaries. You can live with, God forbid, without your testicles as well. You can live with one lung. You can even live with parts of your brain missing. You cannot live with parts of your heart missing. You cannot live without a heart, full stop.